Okay, so I'll just share a little bit about my experience in terms of applying for the MSW. Obviously, it's different for everybody, but I'll offer what input I can, and I'm always open for questions. So whether you think of something now or you think of something after this call, always feel free to reach out. I know when I was in the BSW program, I found it really confusing and difficult to navigate, and it would have been really helpful to have an MSW student kind of cheering me on. So I am totally willing to be that MSW student to anyone who needs it. So I am a part of the 1-year MSW cohort, having just graduated from the BSW program in the summer of this year. So I did my practicum throughout the summer, ended in August, and then in September I started into the MSW program. So 0 break. Outside of school, I'm an addictions counselor at a residential treatment center for men, and I'm also a youth counselor at an emergency shelter. Both of those jobs didn't require me having a social work degree, but it's definitely been helpful in helping me move forward through and like up the ranks. I also have a background working in mental health with youth. In the future, I'm interested in working in clinical social work as an individual counselor or running groups, most likely in the realm of substance use and mental health. So that's why I applied for the MSW program. I just felt like it would open more doors. And the more I looked at job opportunities, the more I found that those I was interested in were requiring an MSW. So I figured while I was in the zone and while I had the momentum, I would just keep on trucking. So I'll talk a little bit about the application process from my perspective, a little bit about the program itself, and then also a bit of information about the scholarships and TA opportunities that are offered to students. So in terms of the application process, it's due December 1st. So now would be a good time to start getting the process started because it is a bit of a lengthy ordeal. There's a lot of moving parts, but it starts with running your application or like actually paying and submitting your application. So you have to pay for it, you submit it, and at this, then you can start working on all the other moving parts. The first one being your references. So you require 2 academic and 1 professional reference. And my advice in that regard is to find a professor or teacher for your academic references that you got good grades with. So all of the profs keep or have a record of all of the assignments that you've submitted. So even if they don't remember you, which is likely the case, especially with COVID, they can go through your file, reread your papers and look at the feedback that they gave you. And that way they're able to gauge whether or not they want to give you a reference. So I was really nervous that I hadn't made any connections with the faculty at the School of Social Work. So I didn't know who would be an appropriate reference since I didn't have a personal connection with my teachers. But when I was told that they're looking at my papers and reviewing what I had handed in, that kind of helped guide my decision as to who I was going to pick. I also aimed to find someone who was a teacher in the School of Social Work, just so that their name is known to the faculty who's looking at the application. My second academic reference was someone from college, but she had an MSW. So that was helpful. And then you also want 1 professional reference, whether it be like from a workplace or someone that knows you really well and can speak to who you are as a person and as a worker. So that's something that you want to get started right away, because how it works is you ask your reference if there'll be a reference for you. And once you input their information into your application, Carleton University reaches out to the references. They send an email and an application form that the reference fills out and sends directly back to the school. So once you give the school their information, you're hands off and you're no longer part of the process. It's between the reference and the school. So getting that process started as early as possible is helpful. And you also want to give them time to fill out the form. The second part is your CV, resume, and portfolio. So that they're both really similar, but a little bit different. So the portfolio is going to be a breakdown of all of your work experience and then adding up the number of hours that you have for each experience. This takes a lot longer than you might think. And the advice that I was given was to include everything, even like jobs that you think may not be relevant to the field of social worker or social work. You did gain skills. So I was a barista for a long time. I learned how to de-escalate situations. I learned how to communicate with people. I learned how to work under pressure, and all of those skills are skills that I use now. So never think that what you're writing down isn't relevant. Add everything, add up your hours, and then in your resume, that's where you kind of break things down and write what you did at those places that's relevant to your education. The essay is also time consuming. And for those of you who are in your BSW right now, you'll notice that the questions are really similar. So trying to change what you wrote can be challenging if you've only been in school for a couple of years and not much has changed. I think what they're going for is to look at how you've grown since your BSW application. So all of the information that you've learned over the past few years in the BSW program are things that you can incorporate into your essay. They review hundreds of applications every year, and they're able to point out the people who are saying things that they want to hear and the people who are being honest. So this is coming from the faculty that I've spoken to. They want personality and they want honesty and transparency rather than just checking the boxes and saying what you think they want to hear. It's a social work skill, being honest and straightforward. So practice that. You'll also have to get transcripts from all your schools as part of your application as well, or all your previous education experience. So again, the due date for your application is December 1st, and I believe the responses came out around March. So it is a bit of a wait, but you'll be so busy with school that the time will just fly. It is very stressful. The anticipation is horrible, but just hold out. Time will fly by. In terms of the program itself, they say it's separated into 3 separate streams. So there's the clinical, there's research and policy, and then there's a mixed format. How it works is in the first semester of the 1-year program, you take 1 intensive course. So for the first week of September, you're in class from 9 to 4. From, I think it was like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That same course, you do 1 class in October and then 1 in November as well. So you do 4 classes in September, 1 in October, 1 in November, and that's 1 credit. And then you have 2 other credits in the first semester. 1 is mandatory. It's a research methods course that you have to take. And then your 3rd credit will be an elective that you can pick from. I right now am doing the advanced individuals and families. So some of you might be taking that at the BSW level. They continue on in the MSW. So same style where you're practicing skills and individual counseling. The second semester from January to April, you have 3 full-time courses. So 3 credits, and they're all electives. So in terms of those streams, you can focus on clinical work. So there's courses like healthcare, individuals and families, there's mental health, and there's an addictions course. You can also choose groups and community work, or you can take the research path, and there's different courses geared towards that. I'm just not super familiar with them because I am doing a clinical stream. Once you finish your semester from January to April, you're done coursework, and then in the summer you do a full-time practicum. So that's the layout. My own personal assessment of the course is that it is a little bit less intense than the BSW because you're only taking a couple of courses at a time rather than a full 5-course load. So the expectations are higher in terms of the quality of work that you're handing in. There are a lot of readings to do. Each week I have about like 10 readings. So it's a lot of work, but it is not 5 courses. So you're not sitting in class for 15 hours a week. How many courses are in the first semester? So there's the 1 intensive and then 2 other classes. So 3 total. So you do your intensive one, you do the research methods one, and then you do an elective. And then 3 in the spring, and then your summer will be your practicum. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was scholarships, and nobody told me this, and it's really quite a shame. There is a scholarship called the OGS, and I'll add the link to the website. The application is due November 15th, and it's like up to $15,000 for the year. You just have to apply, you have to get references. So it's a bit of a process, and it's not everybody will be eligible, but if you are, it's nice to know that it exists before November 15th, because I didn't find out until December when it was too late to apply. So before the end of this call, I'll add that to the chat so that you guys can check it out. The other scholarships that are offered through Carleton, Carleton's actually very generous with scholarships because they want students to pick them. So most people, not all, will be offered scholarships of some sort. There's an entry or an entrance scholarship that's about like $2,000-ish, similar to the ones you might have gotten in your BSW. There's a regular scholarship that's around $10,000, so it basically pays for your tuition. And then there's also what's called a TA-ship. So a TA-ship is where they offer you a scholarship, but you kind of have to work for it. And they don't tell you that when you accept it. I thought I just got the money straight up, and then I also got paid as a TA. Turns out I'm just like working for my scholarship. So that's kind of interesting, but it is quite a bit of money. So I'm working right now as a TA for Social Work 1001, and I get paid like quite well for the amount of work that I'm doing. So that's something, if you show your interest, and that's something you can write in your essay. I mentioned in my entrance essay that I was interested in being a TA. So they offered me the TA-ship because they knew that that was something that I was interested in. You can also reach out to the faculty. Right now, the MSW supervisor who's kind of running the show is Patricia McGuire, who some of you might know. So if you have more questions about TAing and the whole process, she's a good person to reach out to. I saw Michaela, is it an asset to be an undergrad TA? I believe it is. It's helpful to be known by the school. So while I was in my BSW, I did what I could to be connected to the faculty. So I asked the questions, I talked to everybody involved in the school. Sarah Todd, I'd email her and like make up reasons to reach out to all these people so that they know your name. And part of doing that is being a TA. If you can show that you're competent and you're a strong worker, which you do as a TA, that's definitely an asset, and it would go on your CV and resume so they can see that while you were in your BSW, you were also taking on a TA position. So definitely an asset. I think that's all I have to speak to offhand, but I am more than welcome to questions.
I think we have a question from Shamaso. Your hand up.
Sure.
Yes, I have a question about the references. Can you have a retired professor for your reference?
That's a great question. You're talking for an academic reference?
Yes, because I had asked for a reference from one of my professor, and she said, "Oh, well, I taught you only one class, so I don't know you that much." Even though I got an A in her class, and she told me that she didn't know me that much, and
Right.
maybe it's because of the COVID-19, because we're not seeing each other. It was all online, but
Mhm.
I have a professor from social work. I think maybe most of you might know him, Aji Vandersen, and he taught me two classes, the statistics and the research course. And I got both courses, I got A in those courses. So I was thinking that will be, from hearing what you said about maybe your best courses, I was thinking that will be a great reference for me if it's allowed to have somebody that is no longer there.
You can. It doesn't, your reference doesn't have to be from Carleton either. And it doesn't have to be someone who's practicing. So I don't know, those of you who know Kevin Scarrett, he was a contract instructor and he only taught one semester at Carleton. And I was still able to use him because he was the prof that I just happened to know the most. So yeah, I would say you can still use that person as long as they can speak to your academic performance, then they're an appropriate reference.
Okay, I think that that makes sense, because I kind of like met with him so much. I had trouble with statistics and I really wanted to understand it. So I spent a lot of time with him trying to understand things. So I kind of like think he's the one that knows me the best, and I did well in his classes.
Yeah, it sounds like he would be a good pick.
Thanks.
And I'm sorry about the other teacher. The thing is that like they have every single right to refuse doing a reference. So as much as we hope that they will, not every prof will do a reference. So, which is why it's a good idea to start this process early, because it may not be as smooth as you want it to be.
So is also your practicum liaison, can you use that as your reference?
They don't necessarily, they may not be able to speak to your like academic performance as much because your practicum is only a pass fail and you're only writing that one paper. They may not have like a good understanding of who you are as a student. They might be helpful in terms of like a professional reference because they'll have insight into how you worked throughout your practicum, but they may not have a good understanding of like your paper writing skill and your testing ability and things like that.
And I also heard that you can't give a reference of your placement, like a practicum, your, when you have your supervisor at the placement, can you use that, or is that really a no-no?
It's a good question. I'm not entirely sure, but I can write that question down, Shamiso, and get back to you about it.
Okay, that would be great, because
Yeah.
after doing a placement and you have a supervisor that you had like four months doing work with, so I was wondering whether you can use that as well.
It really seems like it would be appropriate because they're speaking to your work ethic. So I would assume yes, but I don't want to say a concrete yes and be wrong. So
Okay.
I will check up on that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna have Wes and Juliana ask their questions, and then be sure to write your questions down. We just want to give time for MM to have her discussion as well. So Wes, question?
Yeah, I'll try to be really quick. And sorry, the first question might be really silly. So I'm in third year currently, and I know it says to apply the year before in December 1st. So would I apply this year for my MSW in December 1st, or would it be in my fourth year?
Assuming that you're taking like a regular course load, you would, when are you graduating?
Not this year, next year.
Okay.
So 20.
So you would want
2. Yeah. I'm confused.
if you apply this December 1st, you would be starting school in September of 2022.
Okay, so yeah.
So if you're still going to be in your BSW at that time, then you want to apply next year.
Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry, that confused me. That was a dumb question.
That's okay.
And my other question, so as far as references, can we use one of the same references as we did from our BSW, or will they be looking at that? Because one of them was my prof from my SSW, with Scott Fjords, who gave me a really good one, who I could possibly use again. The other one I used was my placement supervisor from my SSW, but she is actually now my boss and the clinical director of the treatment center I work at. So she's shifted positions and I've shifted positions, but she would be a really good reference again.
I think that's okay. I used the same one for my BSW and MSW. I used that my prof was the same because I used one of my teachers from college. So it didn't hinder my application that I know of.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Hi, just a quick question. It's about the academic reference process. I've reached out to one of my professors and she did reply back saying she can be a reference for me, but that she has a really busy semester and kind of wants to know when she would need to do the reference. So you were saying that once we put their information down, that the school contacts them. What is that like? Is it like a letter she needs to write, or is it a questionnaire, or?
So it's actually a questionnaire. So as soon as you submit her information to the school, they send the email like right away, like same day, possibly like within a couple of hours. So they send an email to your reference, and then the reference reads the email, and there's a link that they can click that takes them to a questionnaire, and there is sections where they can input information as well and like type up stuff. But for the most part, it's a letter. It shouldn't take, I would say, more than like half an hour to complete.
Okay.
Based on like how quickly I would work. But
so I don't need to like a specific reference letter from her. There will be like questions she can fill out.
Yes. Yeah. And she has to have it in by December 1st. If you're worried that she's going to be too busy, I would tell her she needs to have it in like by November 20th. Okay. Just to be safe. I had a reference who is like super unorganized and last minute. And like November 30th, I was refreshing Carleton Central and her name still wasn't popping up. And I wouldn't recommend that stress for anybody. It was horrible.
Okay. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for the questions, everyone. I see also we have some questions in chat, but we're going to give Emem the chance to share her experience now.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So nice to be here, even if I can't see everyone's faces, but just your names. It's good to be here. Before I give my own experience, I just wanted to quickly say something to Shamiso. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name correctly. You did mention about using your placement supervisor for a reference.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure that won't be a problem, but I know that most times the forms that they give the referees, to fill out, they always ask them like, how long have you known this person? So there would be, let's say, something like 1 year, 2 years, and if you did your placement for, let's say, 4 months,
yeah,
the person will probably put he or she has known you less than 1 year. So that's something you might want to consider if it comes to that. Basically, that's just what I wanted to say.
Okay, thanks.
So my name is Emem. I am in the MSW program. I'm actually in the 2-year program. I don't have a BSW like you guys. So I actually moved to Canada in 2014 for a graduate program at SFU, which is Simon Fraser in BC. And I've been in Canada since then. When I graduated from my program, which was global communications, it was a double degree program, 1 year in Canada and the second year in Beijing, China. So when I came back, because of my experience trying to struggle and get used to the country with all the culture shock that I had, someone recommended volunteering. So someone told me, why don't you go volunteer? And so I went to a social service organization, a neighborhood house, and I said volunteering there. And then I just kind of, loved the social service field. And then I got a job and worked as a youth worker, and then worked with seniors. And then it occurred to me, like, what I really want to do is social work. And so after completing my program in 2016, I worked for a while, got my PR because going back to school again as an international student would not be funny. So I got my PR, and then I applied to Carleton and Wilfrid Laurier. But deep down, I really wanted Carleton because I wanted like a different city, not something too close to Vancouver. And being in Wilfrid Laurier, which is, that side, like I just wanted something different. And so I came here. And I know that when I was processing my application, just like Katie said, it's a lot of work. So yeah, for sure, you want to start early. You want to start contacting those professors. Like in my case, since I was done with school in 2016 and I was applying 2019, right? Or 2018. 2019, sorry. Since I was applying in 2019, I needed to reach out to them to be like, remember me? I would need a reference so that they are able to still, first of all, remember who I am. I think it wasn't difficult for them to remember me because I was the only Black student in that program. And I was the first Black student that they ever admitted into that program. So it wasn't difficult for them to know me. And when I arrived, I dealt with a lot of culture shock with food. I was always ill, so it was not too hard for people in the department to know me. Not that that's a great thing, but I reached out to them, and where I was working in Vancouver, my supervisor, my director was awesome, and she put in my application for me. Sorry, put in the reference application for me. My experience so far has been great. Definitely different from my first graduate program because now I would say that I am more confident and I'm not, the weather doesn't shock me anymore, the food, nothing. So I'm used to the country, I'm used to the people, used to the environment, although the winter here is definitely not the same with the winter in BC. So that was a shock for me. But it was still great. Like Katie said, lots of readings, so many readings, but it wasn't something that came as a shock for me because of my previous graduate program. So that was okay. At least I would say the readings in the social work program are not as boring as the readings in my previous program. So this is way better than my own experience. And then one thing I would say, I guess, because most of you are already in the program, so you would know how to navigate your way around and like making friends and things like that. But I would say that's something that is very helpful. It has really helped me starting the program, just building good connections and like, someone said, what was your previous program? It was called double degree in global communications. So it was called Global Communications. Yeah, Simon Fraser University. So I would say building those connections, having good friends, people that you could reach out to when you have, assignments. Like for me, it was really helpful since I don't have any BSW, no degree, no background in social work at all, aside from the social service jobs that I did. It was very helpful with social work. Like you are already familiar, there's lots of critical writing to do, critical reflection and things like that. Almost all the assignments are kind of the same, but are not really the same, if that makes sense. So having friends to brainstorm with them and be like, okay, this is how I'm understanding the question, just to be sure that I'm not lost. And that's been very helpful, even with the readings, right? So you could split with friends and be like, if we have 4 readings for the week, for example, for a particular course, you could decide to do 1 or 2, and then the rest of your friends could do the rest, and then you just check in with each other. It's almost impossible. I'm sure there are people that probably do it, but it's almost impossible to get all the readings done because, to be honest, there's always a deadline for something. So unfortunately, something would have to slack. So it's either you're not doing all your readings because you're trying to get in your assignments, or you're doing all your readings and then your assignment is behind. So you just have to, pick your battles per se. But I know that having, people that I could turn to and ask questions in my program has been very helpful. Yeah. And like Katie, I'm also interested in clinical social work. I'm looking towards mental health and substance use. And another area I'm really interested in too is social work in HIV and AIDS. So that's something I'm really, really interested in. I did my placement at the Royal. I did my placement with the forensic unit, and it was really nice. It was nice. I never thought about the forensic aspect of social work, but I was glad I had the opportunity. It was great. Sorry, I'm just trying to read the comments. Yeah, what else? I would say just have fun. Try and have fun, because the program is going to stress you, that's for sure. Everything is stressful. And with us, the first year was online, so that was really tough. And I was doing it from BC, which is like 3 hours behind. So when you guys are having a class, let's say like as early as 8 in the morning, I have to be awake in BC like around 5 or so. So yeah, but I would say have fun, build those connections, and just enjoy yourself. You would really appreciate the program, because I am really appreciating the program. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Emem. That was excellent story. We're gonna go to the earlier questions. I think some of them pertain to specifically to Katie and your role. From Caitlin, she asks, could you speak more about what you're learning in the clinical social work rep?
Yes. So my one elective this semester, I chose social work with individuals and families. So similar to the one that's in the BSW program, we're learning about the different theories that kind of guide individual counseling. So we're looking at things like DBT, mindfulness training, motivational interviewing. So each course is each class is geared towards a different type of counseling, or I believe it's supposed to be. We're getting into it now, I think. Next semester, I'm taking a course on social work in a healthcare setting, and I'm also taking a mental health course. I wanted to get into addictions course because I'm an addictions counselor, but the spot was filled, so I didn't get in. That's fine. It's the way she goes. Something that I found helpful and like super duper intriguing and interesting is to go onto Carleton Central and go to registration and build your timetable. And you can just like look forward into like whatever semester in the search when you're like building a timetable, and you can see all the different courses that are offered under the MSW program. So prior to actually registering, I looked at them all, so I had an idea as to what I might be interested in. And all the information about the different classes are there. Although it does change like semester to semester, but it just to get an idea.
Great.
So I was just going to add to that. I also know that you can also pick a course outside the social work program, because I know some of my classmates did that. So anything else that interests you outside social work, you can do that. But you need an approval from the department for sure to be able to do that.
Oh, cool. That's really good to know. Okay, question from Michaela. If I'm graduating August in 2022, I'm assuming I can apply for a master's in September 22. Is that right?
Yes, that is what I did. So I was in school right until the end of August. I was in my practicum until the end of August, and then I started my MSW in September. It's tricky though. So reach out to the faculty. I would say Patricia would be a good starting point. Patricia, Pat, I'm blanking on her last name. I'll think of it.
McGuire,
But McGuire, yes, thank you. So I submitted my application as per usual. The difference was I wasn't able to register so like, do you guys remember when you were applying for your BSW and registering for your courses and you would get a time ticket? I couldn't use my time ticket because I wasn't able to register at the same time as most of the other students. But my application had gone through. It was just a conditional acceptance until I finished my practicum. So stressful, but possible. And I know a few students that did it. Just be straightforward with the faculty and like in your letter, write like, I will not be finishing my BSW until August, and like be really straightforward, and it does work out in the end. It's just tricky. And you may not get the classes you want because you can't register on time.
Sorry, can I just add to that? Because I'm reading the question. If I'm graduating in August 2022, I'm assuming I can apply for MSW 2022, right? But I would say you would be applying the previous year. Because if it's August, unless I'm getting this confused, because if it's August 2022 and you want to start September 2022, that means you should have already applied.
You'd be applying by December because it's 2021.
Yeah. So she's saying by this December.
Yeah, by this December she'll be applying, not next year.
Yeah,
that's what.
So they're saying. Yeah. Okay. Question from Mika. Do you know how many students get accepted to do the program?
So I believe each year it's approximately 30 students for the 1 year and 30 students for the 2 year. So low numbers. Yeah. And the class size, it's nice because the classes are about that number. So you're looking, or it might be like 30 to 50, I would say somewhere in there. And so the class sizes are nice and small, and the seminar, like that intensive course that happens in September, is just like a small cohort of people. So you're able to have some really good discussion, and the classes are structured in a way that you can really engage with your peers.
And so do you know anything about the acceptance rate? Like how many people are applying in general, and how many people are accepted out of that?
That I don't know. I have heard that like hundreds apply each year and only 50 get in, but I don't actually know the numbers.
Yeah, I've heard that it's pretty competitive as well. Yeah, it's probably varies year to year, I'm guessing.
But it does, like, so how it works is they weigh your application in 3 separate areas. So they weigh it in terms of your essay, your references, and your grades. So say you're really high in grades, but your references aren't great, that's how they kind of like weigh it. So that gives you an idea of where you might be in terms of your application versus others. If you can try to like visualize that, those are the three weights that they use.
Okay. Question from Valerie. Where do we submit the fee?
So if you go
to add to that, do transcripts need to be official?
I think it says right on there. So I'll send you the website where you apply. And it has all the information about like the different sorry, I'm just trying to read to see if it says right on the website. At the bottom of this screen, there's like an apply now, and it'll take you to Carleton 360, and that's where you start your application and where you do your payment. Yeah, I'll share that as well, Sagina. In terms of the transcripts, I believe they have to be official. But I'm guessing it says it when if you look at like the handbook, like the MSW handbook, I believe it says whether or not they have to be official. And here is the website for that OGS scholarship.
Great. Mika with another question. What is the assignment load like? I know there are a lot of readings, but are there a lot of assignments? Are they big, small?
I compare, like, they're quite similar to the BSW. So I've handed in a 4-page paper already. There's a couple like 10-page papers. Each class, I have like 4 to 5 assignments per semester. Very similar to the ones that you saw in your BSW. I think just the expectation and like the level of like the quality of work that you're putting into it is definitely being critiqued a lot more strictly. Yeah, but in terms of like workload, it's only 3 classes per semester, so it is less amount of work. It's just the amount of effort you have to put into each assignment is a little bit more, if that makes sense.
And then I know you mentioned that there was like a lot of readings and kind of like the assignments were pretty heavy, so you kind of had to weigh which one you were going to complete. So would you say for you there was a lot?
For those of us in the 2-year program, we have 4 classes. So it's not 3 for us, it's 4. So from the first year to the second year, it's all 4.
Okay.
And I remember the first year, which was last year, the intensive was really, really intensive. And I think because that was where like the first set, the professors were probably experimenting with online learning. So I feel like they felt like giving us a lot of assignments would keep us busy. So it wasn't good at all. We had a course where we needed to come up with 2 questions almost every week or so, and then answer 2 questions. Like, it was just too much, and that's outside the writings that we needed to do. We also had assignments that needed us to write like 10 to 15 pages, and some even 20 on the final assignments. We had 20 pages that we needed to write. Yeah, well, there were some, like Katie said, 4 to 6 pages, which was okay, but that was just like the first assignment. But as you keep going, the assignment, like the number of pages kind of like increases for the second assignment and the third one. So yeah, it was a lot, but we all tried our best to survive. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we all kind of struggled with, the professors really had a hard time figuring out what they were doing with the first year of COVID. So it's too bad that your first MSW semester was there as well.
But it's good to at least have. I know someone asked, is the program online and in person?
Mhm.
The program normally is in person, but because of COVID, things are a bit different. So we do have some, at least for my MSW, the 2-year program, we do have. I know that it's mostly in person, but because of COVID, things are different. We have some classes that are online, and we have some that are in person, and then we have some that are both. So both online and in person. So it's good. It's a bit flexible, to be honest. So I think a lot of us have really gotten used to the screen, and we're okay with that. And for those who are not very comfortable, and because some people are still living far away from Ottawa too, so that gives them the opportunity to still be in class. Yeah.
Okay. Daniela, did you get your question answered? Just write in the chat there. And then Juliana asks, what is the required CGPA you need to keep during your MSW?
I heard in one course that you had to maintain like a C+ or a C, but I'm not sure of the accuracy of that. That's something that I could find out, but I don't know it offhand.
Can I just say something about that? Because I have a friend that applied and did not get in, and she was told to have at least a B+.
That's to get in. Yes, you're right. Yeah. Is it B+ to get in?
Maybe a B, maybe, but at least a B+.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to have, I think, a 10.0 GPA to apply in terms of maintaining throughout your program. I want to say a C is a fail.
I think for a graduate program, a C is not a very good grade per se. It's mostly like a B. And again, it also depends on what you want to do after your master's. If you want to go for a PhD, that would determine the kind of GPA you want to maintain. If you want to keep it at least an A- or an A, so it would help you with your PhD, like your future plans going into a PhD program. That.
Yeah. So no more D's get degrees for the master's program. Just one level higher for that.
Sorry, someone just said her question wasn't answered.
Yeah, Daniela asked, how many courses do you take per semester in the advanced program?
3.
Okay, 3. Shara asks, are the profs the same between the MSW and BSW, or are these profs, are there profs that only teach MSW?
There are some profs that only teach the MSW level, and some you will see from your BSW. All of my profs are new, but some people have had them already in the BSW program. So, and way different vibe. I find what I hear from the profs is that unlike in your BSW, you kind of like read the paper, write the notes, do what you have to do to get by. And a lot of it is, I know for myself anyways, the information was coming in and leaving so that I could make enough space for the next assignment that I had to focus on. And it was so like one after the other, I'm just trying to keep up. In the MSW, they give you the time to really engage with the material and with the assignments, and they understand that at the MSW level, they want you to actually engage with the material, and they want you to like put the time into writing a paper that's engaging you and helping you learn and grow as a social worker rather than just like writing a paper to get the mark. And I think the profs really do a good job at like facilitating that level of learning. So the structure of it all, while you may still have the same professor, I think it's structured a little bit differently. No problem, Caitlin. Good luck.
Yeah,
You can contact, sorry, I'll add my email address so that you guys can contact me because I don't mind. It might take me a bit to get back to you, but I'll try to answer your questions if I can.
And if you RSVP to Facebook or the email, we can send out a batch email with the contact info of you guys and we can answer anything you have.
Perfect.
A couple more questions here. Sagina, did you have a question?
Yes, actually, Nathan, I do. My question is, so I am still a bit new to this. I'm presently a student at Seneca College. Will be receiving my diploma, my social work diploma next year. And I am in the process of trying to figure out where I should complete my BSW and in turn my MSW. So my question is, for an individual that is looking to complete their BSW, is it easier for you to get into the MSW program at Carleton if you were a BSW student, or it does not matter?
This is only from my perspective, so I could be wrong, but from what I've witnessed and from the people that I know that I worked through my BSW with, it was easier to be a Carleton student and to apply for an MSW at Carleton, mostly because I already knew the faculty. So I knew sending in my application that they would be like, oh yeah, Katie Mumford, like, and that's biased and maybe not proper, but it gives you the opportunity to like engage with your school, engage with the faculty. I was on the BSWSS and I like really got involved in the school, and I do think that that helped in terms of my MSW. And I know a lot of other students that did their BSW who are now in, like, it's very Carleton weighted. There's way more students that went to Carleton than students that didn't go to Carleton.
Okay.
So I can't say for sure that it helps, but I do think that it does.
No, I appreciate the honesty. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, no problem. Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, it's Shara here. I just wanted to jump in and add to that. I think they mentioned this at one of the MSW info nights put on by the school, that they do keep some slots. I don't know how many, I don't remember if they said, but they keep a certain number of MSW slots for BSW students from Carleton. I wish I remember what that number was, but yeah, I think they do that. So if that, factors into your decision there, that might be something good to keep in mind. Thanks.
All right. Shamaso, did you have another question? Your hand.
Oh, I just wanted to say to Kate, I wanted to ask Katie, I think she said that already, that she was going to be open for questions in future if you have anything during application. And I remember I was in some of the classes with you last semesters and the other semesters, because I've been in school part-time since 2018. So I'm graduating in February. This
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I would like to try and see if I can get in for the master's. So thank you so much that you said we can contact you if we run into a problem in the application. That's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, anytime.
Excellent. So if there are no further questions, looks like we're right on time for the end here. A round of virtual applause for Emem and Katie. That was a amazing little talk. I think we all learned something. We got some hearts, we got confetti, we got claps,
Yay.
we got everything.
Awkward silence.
Yeah,
That's
awkward
great.
silence. We got it all.
Yay, thank you. Everybody can unmute. Please unmute.
Thanks
Please
so
unmute.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie and MM, for your
Of course.
time.
No worries. All the best to everyone when you're applying.
Yeah, good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. Good
You
night,
too.
everybody.
Bye,
Thanks for
guys.
coming out.
Bye.
Bye.
It was
Thanks so
good to
much,
see
guys.
you guys too, Shara.
Good
Oh,
night.
great. Thank